Today we are very privileged to be flies on the wall in the Belfast studio practice of Sir Neil Shawcross, a much loved and treasured Lancashire lad, but now a very richly acclaimed Ulsterman. This morning's model is Paul Charles, originally of Morafelt, now domiciled in London. The gentleman is an author and an agent, and we are delighted that he has agreed to sit this morning for this portrait.
Pleasure.
1962, Neil, you came, you saw, and you're still here with us. Why?
Well, I love the job that I came to do at the art college. I was there for over 40 years. I found it very, very sympathetic to my work and found an audience. And basically, I just love being here. I love the place.
You've been here throughout all the troubles, and that didn't in any way deter you? You
No.
were committed to being here?
No, it didn't. No, that's all I can say. It didn't.
It didn't. So you are truly an Ulster man in spirit?
Well, I'd like to think so. I think I've always had also a love of America. I love going to America. And I think if I hadn't been lucky enough to find out work in the college here, I probably would have gone to live in America. But later on in my career in the college, I got the opportunity to do an exchange of job for a month, 6 weeks, for a number of years. So I got the best of both worlds. And I try and go and work in America every year.
Yes, and you've done some work, I think, in Canada as well. You
Yeah,
did quite a lot of lecturing.
In Pennsylvania, yeah, and working in various art colonies.
Portraiture is an absolute passion for you. My first remembrance as a second level student going into the Arts Council Gallery and seeing both your work and Colin Middleton's work. The most special thing about the way his work is that you connect with the core of the sitter.
It's an instinctive thing for me. There is a connection, but I don't think about it. It's a purely natural, innate thing in me. It's always been there.
Right, yeah.
And the less I have to think and just paint, the better. But I did start this series of heads, hats and beards because I saw so many people with very interesting, exciting head images, but I'm known for the full-length portrait, but the costume they just happened to be wearing didn't interest me a great deal. There wasn't enough. Although today, Paul, the blue socks right down there, yeah, that's terrific. Good, and that might be another time. Yeah, but there were so many great heads, and I thought, what a pity not to respond to them. So that's how I started that. Influences in my work of the portraits, observing children. They've used line and just beautifully. When you mentioned the Colin Middleton portrait, and still at that time I was working in quite a formal academic manner. We were taught anatomy and proportion methods, which is important to go through. And the earlier portraits that I did when I came reflected that training. They didn't excite me as I feel like I do. I'm excited about what I'm doing now. And I owe that entirely to observing children. I used to have a children's art activity every Saturday morning at the Lyric Theatre rehearsal rooms, Cromwell Road. Mary O'Malley asked me would I do that, and I did for almost 25 years. That's when I first came across Liam Neeson, who was a part of the junior Lyric at that time. He didn't know he was going to be such a star.
And then you did his portrait recently, didn't you?
I did, yeah. For the new theatre.
Right.
This is not your first experience as a sitter. You quite enjoy it?
It's great to see somebody putting their art together, to see how it all comes out so naturally, you know. Whenever Neil is doing this, sometimes he'll look at you and be looking at you, and his hand will be working away, and he's not looking at what his hand's doing. And when I saw it, the first time I said, I thought, oh, it's going to be a bit all over the place. But when I saw what he'd done, it actually, it was quite magic.
The people I select to paint we all have a role, but in life, but they have more obvious. For instance, the school patrolman I painted a couple of years ago. Total stranger to me, but driving through Lisbon, just saw him one morning, and the painting started that moment.
Right.
Now, unless that reaction is, if it's not there, then the painting lacks sparkle or integrity, or what call it what you wish. I don't know. This painting started at the waterfront that night. That's why I think I can work quickly, because it's already part the way there in my head.
Right.
And as soon as I saw that patrolman, it started, and all I had to do to make sure I got into the studio. I've never worked from photographs. They're such a flat, dead image that all you would be creating is another dead image. I painted solilipsits in 1968, and it was one of the first portraits that really set me on the road to what I've been doing ever since, and that it was a full-length image directly influenced by the children. In 1978, I think it was about 10 years later after I'd painted Solly, I had been working, I worked constantly, but I didn't do a lot of other portraits in that period. He wanted to build up portraits of writers for the museum. And he said, he approached me and could I do a portrait of Francis Stuart? I said, I don't know Francis Stuart. I really don't know whether I could or not. He says, you're going to love him. So I went down to see Francis, and made arrangements that he would come up to Belfast the following week. Now, this is where your training and discipline kicks in. I couldn't get up that morning, or as a matter of fact, this morning, and say, oh, I don't really feel like it. You've the opportunity. You've seen someone that you want to paint. You just damn well do it. And he came, and he couldn't bring the cat or the rabbit, of course. But I could never do a portrait from a photograph. When it was launched at the Ulster Museum, me and Francis were asked to respond to questions from an invited audience about the portrait, and they say I never ever asked the sitter what they think of it. But someone asked Francis. I thought what he said was very, very complimentary to me. He said, what I achieved that day was what he'd hoped to achieve all his working life as a writer, was to have the courage to go as you do, Paul, at the writing desk, start your story and finish it, and have the courage not to re-edit. And I thought, spot on. I would hate to earn a living from portrait painting. I don't know what it is, but I'm so pleased and grateful that I'm still motivated to do after 50 or 60 years of painting. I'm still delighted that I'm motivated. Now, what it is, that bit of magic, I don't know.
Have you done portraits of yourself?
No.
Has anyone done portraits of you apart from the children?
Yes, I have. Bill Gatt. Yeah. Bobby Henley's taken, as a photographer, has taken thousands of heads of me. He loves the light in the studio, and if he's bringing, can I bring Paul Charles up to take his photograph next? Oh yeah, come on up. So he spends sessions, and he's always got half a film to use up. Right. At the end of the session, he just says, sit there. So he's remarkable. He's a wonderful photographer. Never had any teacher training.
It was natural.
So it was it's a whole gut reaction. And you've got to, if there are 40 students in a studio, I have to respond in 40 different ways. Yes. One person's needs is not that. I never wanted to impose a way of working. Yes. This is how you do it. This is how I do it, but find a way. And I hoped, I always hoped I created an atmosphere in the studio where students were comfortable and at ease and worked and were motivated. And that's all it is.
Sitters can often find exposure through the eyes of a painter. You seem quite happy that Neil has captured you and captured your essence. For those of us who don't know you or know your history, what exactly is the essence of Paul Charles?
Vanilla.
Vanilla? Vanilla essence. Okay, expand, please.
I'm an agent in the music business. I have been since I left Northern Ireland in 1967. Then was with a small group from Belfast called Frupp. And then I met my current business partner, Paul Fenn. We formed an agency called Asgard. And we're lucky enough to work with people like Jackson Browne, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Tom Waits, Loudon Wainwright, Christy Moore, the Waterboys, people like that.
Quite a collection there.
In the early 90s, I started to write crime novels.
How many books have you published altogether?
The current one, The Last Dance, is the 15th novel.
Do you have a working system, or do you go when the spirit moves you, or do you have a regime, you work through the night?
When I'm working on the first draft of a story, I'll work religiously from 6:30 to 9:30 every morning. And I find that I get, that's as much as I can get that's good. You can work on beyond that, but usually that's, for me, that's the peak. I think that for every day you take off, you need 2 days to get back into the story. When you're in the middle of it every day, you're with your characters, you're with the plot. And I kind of write pretty much as a reader, in that I don't know what's going to happen.
Yes.
The story unfolds as I'm involved in this journey.
I have to thank you so much for allowing us to sit in on this,
Right.
Because it is quite an intimate process.
More conscious of the line than any other thing, any other portraits done. That's just how they evolved. I hadn't planned that, but I think it's the pencil and what's happening there is exciting to me. So there's just a little colour here and there where I feel is this appropriate. Just a wee stroke here and there.
You were a great admirer or follower of Howard Hodgkins, whose early work started off very concise and well composed and solid. But his recent work now is very loose and free. But is that just come with confidence over the years and the freedom and abandonment to work in a much looser, soulful way?
I think it's a matter of knowing where your priorities lie. It is paint you're using, nothing else. And why try and make it look like any other thing? What Hodgkin has in great quantities is passion.
Passion, yeah, yes.
And just for me, if painting doesn't have it, then it just becomes a mechanical process. My favourite painter of all time would be Pierre Bonnard, who it's not as obvious as the boldness of Hodgkin, big, bright, wonderful, powerful strokes, but a gentle sort of, I can imagine Bonnard's hand shaking, and that whatever life force beats through us, there are people like Bonnard that sort of transcends into the paint, so it's almost the same pulsating.
Yes, it's...
Yeah, that energy and in Bonnard, such a subtle, gentle way, but it's there. He's been my biggest love. I really love the work of Tracy Emin. Their drawings are fabulous.
But so few people draw nowadays.
Her work has that. It's got eroticism,
dynamic,
and
yes,
energy and passion.
And sensual use of line.
I really feel she's the real deal.
generally speaking, has the artist a role to play in our community, in society? And I'm not talking community arts, I'm talking a role that raises awareness or brings change.
Oh, very definitely. I'm not conscious of that, whether what I'm contributing, but there are people. I wouldn't put myself in. I'm not making any statements other than enjoying what paint can do.
And that's what you do.
End
That's
of
what
story.
you do for people
Yeah,
that connect with you, and you've
yeah.
taught. Yes. Is there a need, or is there a requirement that at some stage artists sell directly to the public, or does this a bridge, which is facilitated by gallery owners, businessmen, something that will continue?
I hope so, because the moment, to me, an artist gets involved with marketing his work, then you say goodbye
Good night,
to his
Vienna.
development.
Yes.
Because he's obviously going to respond to what.
Yes, the market
Yeah, so-
demands.
Yeah, forget about it. I know certain artists can resent the 45 or 50% commission that's paid, which as younger artists are only too delighted when they're selling nothing.
Yes, too.
Yeah, but once it starts, they're beginning
they
to
don't want to
resent
part with it. Yeah.
No, I'm all for the galleries and the agents. You might interview somebody next week and have the opposite view, but that's my view. I've been very happy with the agents that I've been involved with. No complaints at all.
With emerging artists, would they rate their success, if they're young and not matured, through the commercial selling? Or do you think people are self-confident enough to say, I've created this, I'm happy with it, so what if it's not out there on the billboards?
Well, I have a great respect for young people who have gone out there and are trying to earn their living from their art. See, I always had the best of both worlds. If you were going to be in a kind of teaching
Yes.
role, okay, I was in the best place you could be. And I've never known any other life but art schools and colleges. I was at art school at 13, and I'm in my 73rd year now, so you've done about 60 years.
Yes.
I've not known anything other than drawing and painting. And what a luxury. I can sit back and say, oh yeah, it's all right. I didn't care whether my work, I'm just being true to the paint. But I had a salary coming in.
Yes.
But I would have done any work to pay the
Facilitate
bills
you and allow you to.
without
Yes.
compromising the studio work, for sure. I've only ever really been interested in exhibiting in Ireland. And they had a wonderful period of about 10 years from about 2000 to 2010 where there was huge, lots of money, people buying work. That's not anymore. But it's not changed the pattern doesn't alter the way of working in here. Not at all. In fact, an
has its
awful
own
lot of
rhythm.
paintings in this studio never leave it. started working at kind of a body of work 6 or 7 years ago. I like all students, we had to do all forms of art, visual arts, and printmaking was part of it. Lithography, a wonderful medium. And I'd worked on little projects, individual pieces with the Seacourt every so often. But it was only until I was introduced to Stewart in Canada, and he invited me to work with him over there, that a prolonged work, and I've been absolutely thrilled with the results. And he loves coming to Ireland. He's had exhibitions here, so we've built up a terrific working relationship. He loves coming to Belfast, and I love going over there.
Printmaking can make images more accessible to the public.
Well, you know, it's the best kept secret. People generally, even collectors of painting, serious collectors of painting, won't touch print because they don't get it. They don't get it. They see it as, they can't see the difference between an original print and a reproduction. Once they see it's numbered, and there are, even if it's a limited edition of 6, they shy away. But I think the quality of prints that are available are magnificent. Once I think people realize what is involved, it's a fabulous, fabulous craft and art. And there's things that happen in print that are so unpredictable. And if you're really lucky, I always feel about painting or your attitude to whatever you're doing, but I can only think of printmaking and paint. If you approach it with absolute confidence in the materials or the methods, it will behave beautifully for you. But if you're anything less than 100% confidence, it won't behave. It just won't do it for you. And the print, it's just, it's magic. When you're lifting the paper from the body of the press and see what it's, oh, it's magic. And those are the best moments. Okay, it's very nice to have your work selling in exhibitions, but there's nothing that can better the feeling of that excitement and magic that goes on in the studio. This is where it matters. And that's it. And if you're lucky enough for people to be interested in what you're doing, that's terrific. But this is where you have
the creation happens.
Yeah, definitely. It's just that immediacy that seeing that time 6 weeks ago, and just having it there, knowing that I'm going to, knowing you're going to try as one thing and achieving it as another. Yeah. But there's always, it says the material has to do something for you. give it its freedom, and it will
happen.
It will happen. But if you try and force it any way, it's.
How do you feel about this?
Well, if I say it's brilliant, you know.
It is.
But no, the kind of the misinterpretation is that the subject's brilliant, which is not. I think it's magic. I think it's.
It is magic.
Very special.
Well, I like those words, Paul, because it is. Any form of art, there's a magic about it. And I'm glad, I'd be quite happy with that description.
And so, Sir Neil Shawcross, can I thank you
Oh,
for
yeah.
allowing us to be part of this magic today and observing it, and for being part of this intimate sharing. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.
Thank you.